With all that's happening in the market, anticipating the moves in this market seems to be hard. When you do look at the depth of these assets against Bitcoin, while you try to understand what exactly the market is doing. Now you can see in this particular pair, Cardano to Bitcoin, you now have more buys than the sells. Yeah, and look at the total quantity of Cardano being sold off and the price in Bitcoin terms. So they are selling Cardano for Bitcoin. Now you're watching, say you go in and you're looking at Solana. And you can see the number of units being sold there. So this kind of gives you a basic idea of how this liquidity is being injected into the market. For sure, you can come in, look at the USDT side of the equation. Yeah. And when you do look at the memcoin segment, you're watching, okay, there is an ABC structure playing out for sure on a daily. And that is slowing the price down. So when you actually go in and pick up, say, the weekly chart, you're watching something which you have seen before. So if that's a continuation pattern, where is your trend line support? It's going to be somewhere here at the bottom. So understand what the price action is doing and use all the tools which you have. This is total crypto market, and this is something which you have seen again and again in the history. There are small deviations. One, you break below, then you retest. That retest happens to be the top. The rejection is the bear market. Here you come in the next cycle. And the next cycle, you can see, you did not break to the downside, but the bounce created a lower high in RSI, and that was the cycle top. The break of the trend line was the bear market. So you kind of see the break and continuation to the downside means a bear market. Good. Right now, here we are. We're putting in lower highs on a monthly RSI for the total crypto market. And at this point, you're observing that we had a fake out before. The moment this monthly candle close and we enter into the next one, you will see some more volatility. What do I mean? Say you pick up this. This is a Solana chart on a monthly. You're observing the fact that the strength has not reached back up to retest that region. And the MACD has already crossed to the downside. The volume is already on the downside. Now go zoom in on the same asset. This is weekly chart for the same. You're watching after the negative divergence, it drops 70%. Okay, cool. After the negative divergence, the macro, you drop 69%. Close enough. Then there is a bounce close to 90%. Okay. Here we got a run to the upside of 110%. Okay, almost close enough. So the structure is still playing out as it is. There is no change in what you're watching. Now say you want to zoom in. Yes, on a macro you see that. But when you come on a micro, looking at the short-term scenario, this is your daily chart on Solana. What's the trouble? This is what you're watching. You have these regions of resistance which acted as support before, now should be tested. There is a lot of odds that we may get up here. Now why? We did not break this right back to the downside, and here it's forming a micro double bottom. Usually such a double bottom creates something like this. So I expect it to do this, come back up here, bring in a lot more people into the buy zone, then put a lower high, then come here, put a lower high, and continue to the downside. Now remember, those legs to the downside can be clearly 30-35% in the first leg itself. Now what is the trouble? When you look at this, if you are not observing this on a macro pattern, you miss a lot of these ideas, which is clear. You first get pushed to the downside, then you have a push to the upside, which happens to be a retracement. Say if you want that fib to watch the retracement, watch. When it comes back up there, what's it? Yeah, 0.618. That's like a golden retracement region. And if you hit there, boom, you come back down. Why? the momentum is to this side and you may go back down to this region. Now, we have seen that many times before. Like you come down, then you build something like this to the upside and then continue back to the downside. Again, you go back up and you then retrace to the downside. At one point, it would be capitulation for sure. But while you play that pattern, remember how that is made. It looks like this, something similar to this. In a lot of different assets, you get to see that. Now, here, you're doing the exact same thing, but on a higher time frame structure. What do that mean? Yeah, I also think so. The drop, when it actually comes, it is going to be hard, it is going to be heavy, and the panic is going to be huge. Why? It makes a lot of sense to argue that the moment you give up this support in this asset, it is now creating something on a macro, which is 1, 2, and 3. So the moment you break that to the downside, remember that's a 60% to the down. Yeah, so that's your measured move going somewhere close to this region. Does it make sense on a macro to argue you're going to come somewhere close? Kind of, yeah. 65, 70, 50, long way to the downside. It's all possible. Now, why so? Because the highs of 2021 is now the resistance, and you're taking that resistance seriously. Last time you did something like this, it was in here. The break did push the price down into a bear market. So it's clear how you can analyze the market the way you really understand. You break things down in an easy manner. Come on, get. Now watch the monthly for alt market, excluding Ether for sure. Total 3. Now we are watching the price is back up to the long-term regional resistance. Back in 2021, early 2025, now we are back up there. But if you compare with 2021, you don't have the number of units of volume. You really don't have it even at the negative divergence level. Now we observe for this year. No, you don't. So that means you're going higher, but you don't have the strength. So the moment 1 or 2 more big people step out, the financial institution is going to take this ride into a different direction. How do you understand that? You go zoom in. You go into a weekly chart. Now, a lot of people are arguing, I'm watching higher highs. Good. Perfect. Now, remember, this was a higher high. Was it not? But on the macro swing, this was a higher high too. Yeah? But the moment it dropped here, it showed you a higher low. Why not go back in? The trouble was there was a huge negative divergence, and those who are not the fans of negative divergence won't understand this. After a negative divergence on a weekly or a monthly, whenever you form a lower high, that's a cautious signal. So now you have that shit here, and if you do this, that's a lower high. Wherever you correct back down, fine. Where is your trend line support on a longer horizon? The 1, the 2. Get? So you can drop literally just 20% in alt market general. Yeah, some of them are going to drop 30, some of them are going to drop 50, but general market may drop just 17 to 20% and micro bounces before you drop. Now, what do those micro bounces look like? This is your trend line horizon here. You came back to that region for sure. Then you did micro bounce. You did all of these choppiness before you took the deep dive. That is clearly possible in here too. Why not? Why not? When you have the negative divergence and lower highs, the odds for such a thing is very huge. Now, zoom in further. Zoom in on to a 3-day chart. This is what you're watching. One candle just erased whatever you had before, and the momentum is still sticking like this. Now, why is that very important? Even though it was one candle here and it was a fake out, the decision of change in direction was clear. Once you run up hard, and then you show just one red candle, yeah, you can do multiple fake outs and remain in the same region for some time before you drop. But I would argue that this drop matters way more than the time you remain there. Now, the bottom after that came in here. That was like a 40-50% drop. Get? So now you can see swing highs, swing lows, and the actual bottom came down here. So that's a 40%. This is a 40% plus. So if you look for that, you're arguing that the price should come this low. Now, what is the trouble there? When you see that and you understand the fact, okay, that's going way below the trend line in here, that means there is something wrong. The trend line breaking to the downside means something. What does it mean when you have a long-term trend line like this getting broken to the opposite direction? Now, you want to stay wise, you keep it conservative. You get a retest and then a rejection, which was a capitulation, meaning the alt market dropped 60%. Majority of the altcoins dropped 80%. Yeah, you want to look at that? Watch this. This is the same time in Solana that dropped 81%. So yes, you will see some of these assets dropping way more than the average coins. So keep in your mind that if you're bullish, be strong on this. If you are not involved in the market, wait for whatever confirmation you want to go short. But if you are bear already, the minimal guys, very few guys who are in the bearish territory now, you know where you have to be. So one, a little bit risky one, but with lower risk. Yeah, no leverage. Then high liquidity couple of assets like Bitcoin or Ether to save from that little bit of risk. So you keep your risk anchored and you have time to ride this market to the downside. Right now, no one will say that. Why am I saying this? Come back here, watch this. Back in 2024 May, I was arguing, guys, maybe you'll do this, but there's a negative divergence. What do you think it's going to do? I was arguing that again and again and again, saying, guys, this is a trap. Be careful, be careful, be careful, yeah? For few months, what's the trouble? Yeah, for at least 4 or 5 months, I looked like an idiot saying that's going to go down. How much did it drop? It dropped 70% after the negative divergence. So those who actually told you, no, go buy, go buy, go buy. They wanted you to get this upside. I'm saying don't look at that kind of a micro upside. Yes, that literally was 100% move to the upside after the negative divergence. Yes, that put in a new higher high, all-time high. But those who entered in that territory got trapped. Price reversed immediately, dropping 50%, and the absolute bottom was around 72%. And it's not done yet. Why? When you do put this in weekly, you'll see this was the support region which you broke to the downside. Any basic TA guys would argue this, yeah? Clean, this is your support. Good. Now, what's your measured move here? This thing is your measured move. So, if you want to break to the downside, how low should you go? You still have some more to the downside, yeah? So, the trend lines stay valid here. If you come back down, that's a long way down because the capitulation did not come yet. And the actual bottom is fetched in the market with capitulation. So these assets kind of show you the amount of time the bears tested your patience after the negative divergence. That was 150 days. And for that 150 days, I looked stupid saying, don't go in there, you'll get chopped. Now, looking back, now from after that 140 days, watch this. It took another 250 days, now 230 days to form that 70% drop bottom. Now I look good when you look back in time. But right now, this is the exact same thing where you're watching in a lot of different assets. Decision is in your hands. So if you receive value, smash the like button. And if you want to get all of these charts for a lot of these assets at the right time, be a part of this family. I'll keep the link in the description below. I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye for now.